I think it is. Surfing and coffee.
Surfing and coffee. I like that. Hey, so let's get back to this sheet. You had some negative things to say about sheet. Why is that?
Well, there's nothing good to say about sheet. Sheet, S-C-H-E-A-T, sheet.
Right.
Is an unpleasant little star. There are a number of stars, most of which have got nasty habits to go with them. Some of which are great. Like, for example, Spica is a beautiful star that does everybody lots of good. Sheet, on the other hand, like Faces, which is even nastier, and Caput Algol, which is the worst star of all, they have rather peculiar effects when activated. Like, they're always there, the stars are always there, but when something happens, and it's directly connected to a major star like Sheet, you have these really quite extraordinary things that come about on planet Earth, and can be tracked by this. And whether or not you can't predict a specific thing from a fixed star, but you can predict a tone, like the tone of the world. And the tone of the world, with the ground crossing cardinal signs that we've just been going through, and the movement of Sheet over Rose Point, or the vernal point as it's called, these have to produce difficulties. When we're connected with I was talking before about the planet Pluto, which is a very slow-moving planet. It's almost a fixed star. It's a slowly moving fixed star. And when that moves into your chart and that has effects, they affect the world. It's like in December of 2007, just as a prelude to the big crash of 2008, we had Jupiter moving into Capricorn and Pluto moving into Capricorn, and Saturn a few months beforehand had moved into Virgo. Only days after Saturn moved into Virgo was the beginning of the terrible tribulations that we've had over the last few years, because that's when Northern Rock, the big British bank, started to go under. Mm-hmm. And then it went on, and we had Lehman Brothers in 2008 and so on, so everybody knows what happened there. They all know that the US dollar has fallen to half.
Right.
That the real estate boom has busted. That the car manufacturers, General Motors, who would have imagined that General Motors could go cap in hand to the government asking for billions of dollars, let alone Chrysler. Ford managed to get through it. But these kind of things, they don't happen by accident, and they don't happen by coincidence. They happen because the planet, if you like, is getting up and shaking off its fleas.
Yeah, I agree with you. For me, I started to really track this stuff on a collective level. I mean, I always tracked it on a collective level, but as part of the public record. It was in 1998 when I started to shift my website to astrology, and I began to track the presidential primaries and the election, and then I began to get into Pluto and Capricorn before Pluto was moving into Capricorn, and for me, Pluto and Capricorn cast a giant shadow across not only what I was doing, but what everybody was doing and was going to do, and I felt, for me, it felt like very much like the rise of Sauron in The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that's true.
And and here we are now. We're we're 3 years into Pluto and Capricorn, and we've seen the convergence of governments and corporations, which in the terms of in the language of Benito Mussolini is the definition of fascism.
That's correct.
And what we're seeing and have been seeing is the rise of the definition of fascism, or the rise of the corporatocracy of Pluto and Capricorn. And yet we have Saturn in Libra, which is squaring off against Pluto, and really trying to give some form of balance, some form of accounting to this sort of titanic force that is encroaching on on the rest of us. And I see the whole Saturn and Libra, Capricorn, Pluto axis as being more worked out in our own personal lives than really on the collective level. I mean, if Saturn and Libra were really, kicking into gear, and maybe it will, because we're still, in the second retrograde, I believe, of Saturn, and it's at 10 degrees now or 11 degrees now. 10 degrees. And maybe by the time Saturn moves forward and we get closer or deeper into Saturn and Libra in 2012, we might see the manifestation of some real outward forms of peace and people really wanting to bring fairness and equality and liberty to the collective. But I feel like right now a lot of that's happening kind of underneath everything. Like we're trying to find equilibrium and balance in our own lives, our own relationships, our own connection to things that have value for us. And I feel like we're not quite at the point of the iceberg, where we're breaking the water with Saturn and Libra. I see that more in 2012, but I still feel like that it's having a powerful effect in some ways in offsetting this titanic Pluto and Capricorn energy.
Well, I think the movement of Pluto into Capricorn, and which was associated almost to the day with the movement of Jupiter into Capricorn, produced a massive urge for change in the collective. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
Yep.
Now, the Australian government was changed, the US government was changed, the British government was changed, a whole lot of others were changed. That's fine. That's all moving forward. Saturn then, fortunately for us, last year, got out of Virgo and is into Libra. Saturn is what they say exalted in Libra.
Right.
In other words, it's in its best place.
Yeah.
That means the urge for justice is strong. This is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And, okay, the personal side of it, where an individual is affected, will depend on how it falls in his own chart or her chart. The prime urge of Saturn in Libra is for justice. Now, people in the Middle East are all screaming for justice now. They're out there shooting each other in the streets trying to get it. People in America, people in Australia, people in Europe, they all require justice. Oh, my computer is about to die again. I'm not sure why. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. It isn't going to die. It's decided to. I don't know what it's doing. Hello?
I'm right here.
Oh, good. I don't know why it's doing this. It's just one of those days. It's the eclipse, I think.
It's got to be let's blame it on the eclipse.
Everything's changing colours, and Gemini, of course, is about communication.
Yeah.
So when we have a solar eclipse, it means that the emotional life is climbing over the top of the spiritual life, or the material life and the habits of the past. That's the meaning. They're climbing over the spirit, which is the sun. So we have to allow the past to go away and make a new beginning. That's the meaning of a new moon, but it's also the meaning of a solar eclipse. Mm. So the past might be my computer system. Maybe I should get a new computer system.
Why not? I mean, you're worth it.
I've had this one since 2004, so it's just about at the end of this year.
Yeah, you're ready for an upgrade, Rob.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Unfortunately, my computer program won't run on the latest systems, which is why I stuck with it. So
maybe you just need a computer that you can talk to the rest of the world from.
Yeah, well, maybe I do. Anyway, look, what we're talking here about Saturn in Libra.
Yep.
Saturn is great in some ways, but it does pull you up against what it is that you have to do. Not what doesn't try to crush anything, doesn't crush you. Saturn's noted for crushing things, but when it's in Libra, it pulls you up and tries to make you recognise what it is that you have to do. What is the need, not what is the want. It doesn't matter what you want to do. Saturn in Libra will bring you to what you need to do. This is the thing. Now, the problem's being, we've got all this massive energy in Aries, or we have done, because Jupiter is now just about to move into Taurus, which is going to bring a huge change to everybody.
Yes.
is that will release a lot of this stress of Jupiter opposing Saturn and the other planets, of course. Now, if you have to come up to the plate. That's what Saturn in Libra is asking you to do. You've got to come up to the plate, and you have to decide on what it is that you need to do, and then do it. And the obstructions that will come through the Pluto square and the oppositions that we've been dealing with for the last year and a half or more, they won't be there. They're not so strong because it's moving away from that.
Right.
They're all moving away. We still have to deal with the eclipses. We still have to deal with the fixed stars. They're not moving anywhere. But for now, because the eclipse that we're dealing with is in Gemini, there's a breakdown in communication we've just been experiencing there. And it's going to come to the extent where we need to make a new connection. And the new connection will be with what it is in terms of our lives, where Gemini is in the chart. Now, in the case of a Gemini person, is right there smack dab on their sun. So it's very much to do with the soul being of the Gemini character, which has been, the emotions will be sweeping over Gemini very heavily this month, because in 2 weeks' time we've got the full moon in Sagittarius.
Right.
Where, of course, the sun's still in Gemini, but it's eclipsed.
Yeah.
The moon is eclipsed. When the lunar eclipse happens, that is terribly emotional for most people. It's a full moon anyway, and everybody knows that we go out and howl at the full moon. But when it's eclipsed, then we have the, instead of the emotions simply going over the top of the soul, we have the emotions and the habits and the personality pulling against the soul, because the sun is the soul, the moon is the outer side.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is what a lunar eclipse is. And the lunar eclipse is a total lunar eclipse, and it's far more likely to have pretty powerful effects, but both on you and me, because of Sagittarius being in the first house.
Yeah, I have.
Looking forward to that, I think.
I have Jupiter in Sag in my first house as well. So.
Yeah. Well, Jupiter in Sagittarius is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not bad. It's cool. I dig it. I eat a little too much and drink a little too much, but other than that, I like it. So you've been doing this on the internet since 1998, and you were obviously a very early adopter with astrology on the internet, and you've seen a lot of changes take place with not only astrology on the internet, but computer software with astrology. Can you talk about what it was like to get out there early and do what you were doing, and some of the things that have changed over the past few years with astrology on the internet?
Okay. When we started, there wasn't very much of anything on the internet, or the World Wide Web, as we should say. We thought, or put it like this: why did we start it in the first place? Well, we needed something to do, that's one thing. But a friend of mine who had just become divorced and who ran a computer store, he said to me, you know what's going to happen is that everybody, at this stage, matchmaking on the internet is in its very infancy. He said everybody is going to need to find a partner, and the way they're going to do it is on the internet. That's quite prophetic. He, of course, was keen to find a partner. He said, you know all about astrology, and this other friend of his, whose name is Ian Fernwald, who's now no longer with astrology on the web, he's decided that he's better off as a librarian, and good luck to him. And he said, the two of you could do something with this. You could set up a matchmaking system using astrology, because doesn't astrology tell you how people can get on and where their good points are and how they match together? And he said, yeah, it does. We could do this. So this is in 1997. We decided to build the website for that. We started doing it. And Ian in particular was very concerned about other parts of astrology, not just matchmaking astrology. He said, well, we should do a broad thing, and we should organise it so that